This evening. Let's go over to Anand.
Thanks, Mike. I wasn't around that time as well. Well, with me now in the studio, I have Sabrina Schaefer. She is a Republican strategist, and Richard Fowler, who's a Democratic strategist. Sabrina, ladies first. What do you make of the race so far?
Well, the number one thing I'm taking away from tonight is that the Democrats' get out the vote efforts really are as good as people say they are. I think that that's what we're going to find, that even with high unemployment, even with a debt that has soared over $16 trillion, even though the president's signature domestic policy issue, Obamacare, is wildly unpopular, the country appears to be still supporting him. And it's not over yet, but that's what I'm beginning to take away from this evening.
Okay, Richard?
Well, I think she's right. Sabrina's right on some of these points, but at the same time, I think the other thing that we're beginning to see is that the places where Mitt Romney campaigned the most, he's losing those places. Like in Ohio, the counties that he hit the most, he's losing them. Meaning that all along we've talked about Romney having this identity crisis, and the polls are starting to reflect that. I think one interesting poll people can pay attention to at home that reflects that is what's happening in the state of Virginia. In Virginia, Allen is up, and Obama is up at the same time, meaning that people identify more with Allen than they do with Mitt Romney. And I think that's real telling for the governor of Massachusetts. I think he has a long way to haul to win this election. I won't call it for the president yet, but I think looking at the numbers, looking what's happening in some key counties, key counties around the country, we'll see.
Well, interesting point you raised there. I mean, the fact that the vote in Virginia has been split.
It has, and I think that everyone was hoping that this is a state that, it will continue to be in play, and obviously Republicans and Democrats are both still fighting for it, and we have those outside of the Beltway counties that we're looking for, but we'll have to see. We still have Florida to consider, and Colorado and Wisconsin, so there are still states in play. This election is not yet over. And
I guess the point we should make is that these are three equal branches in government, the White House on the one hand, and we have the Hill, which is, where Congress sits, and we have the Supreme Court as well. We have a piece of video of Mitt Romney, who was on the plane earlier on talking to journalists. Let's take a look at that.
Intellectually, I felt that we're going to win this, and I felt that for some time. But emotionally, just getting off the plane and seeing those people standing there, we didn't tell them we were coming. We didn't notify them when we'd arrived. Just seeing people there cheering as they were connected emotionally with me. And I not only think we're going to win intellectually, but I feel it as well.
Confidence a little bit misplaced?
Well, I don't know if it was misplaced. Let's just remember that this weekend I actually was in Ohio, and Governor Romney was attracting crowds of 30,000 people. Similarly, or I should say dissimilarly, the president had to bring out over 40 celebrities to get much, much, much smaller crowds. So I think all of this, there is a lot of enthusiasm. There is a big desire for a change in the direction of this country. And we're still going to have to see how, if Governor Romney is able to squeak it out in some of these key states like Ohio.
And I think the distinction here, Sabrina, and I disagree with you here, is because I think what we saw from the president's camp was they weren't planning on doing any rallies today at all, because they understood that they wanted to focus on their ground operation. When you take folks, and anybody at home gets this, if you move staff to man a rally or man an event, you take staffs away from the field. So Romney had two events today in which he had to take staff off the field to man an event. And at the same time, Obama staff they were talking to voters, they were knocking on doors, they were making sure that their voters were turning out. And I think that's what's going to be critical tonight, going into the next couple of hours, of where you see the turnout happen. What happens in places like Cleveland, Ohio? What happens like places in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Miami, Florida, Richmond, Virginia?
Okay, Richard, Sabrina, we're going to have to leave it there for now, but I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more, because there's a lot more to happen in this election as the hours unfold tonight. But for now, let's send it back to Elaine.
All right, thank you so much, Anand. President Barack Obama's father, Barack Obama Sr., was born in Kenya, and the president has 5 half-brothers and a half-sister.